I used to read a lot, anything and everything. Product packaging, warning signs, paperbacks, magazines, everything and anything. These days I seem to have less time for it in a formal leisure sense, sitting down to read for an hour, but everyone writes on social media all the time, and it sucks our attention into snippets of unconnected information with few proper stories. So, I found myself drawn to audiobooks to satisfy my need for a good tale. This format, along with self-publishing, have opened the door for many excellent wordsmiths who may not have been read otherwise, along with one or two who perhaps should not, without heavy proofing and editing. I've been toying with the idea of self-publishing some of my own writing, but I'm loath to do so without testing the water. What follows is an excerpt from a story under the working title, The Betrayal. Listen at your leisure. All I ask is that you leave a comment saying whether you enjoyed it or not, and feel free to be as critical as you wish. Even offer pointers if you like. I'll take all the help I can get. Who knows, if the response is positive, I may record some more. In the meantime, thanks for listening. Nutwood Products presents The Betrayal, working title. I came from the east, a dark rivulet trickling down the cheek of the blood-red Borough Mountains and into the foothills above Dakosai. Accompanying them a low, murderous roar, a mechanical fanfare. A faint red mist danced around the advance, as if the very dust must flee from this spectacle in sympathy with the birds and animals, and the Borrowfoot foresters watched with mounting horror and feelings of hopelessness, wondering to a man why they had disregarded what Laven had prophesied, cursing their scepticism and their pride in the defences they trusted to contain just such a threat. Defences constructed decades before the birth of their eldest tribe members. Defences they no longer understood, but relied on nevertheless, and now they stood, waiting for the hellish tide to overtake them, with Canute-esque understanding of their mistake. Borrow would drown in blood and ignorance as its elaborate suicide was realised. The panic began. People running frantically into their homes and taking what little they felt they could carry of their fated lives, forgetting in their materialistic haste that there was nowhere left to run. Laven cursed himself for having been right. He felt a greater sense of futility now than ever in his life, and could do little more at first than join his fellow townsfolk in looking on at the spectacle before them. The spell broke. He glanced around him, and the sea of open mouths and wide eyes did more than disclose the frozen minds behind the expressions. Spurred into action, he leapt forward and ran headlong towards the closest of the scattered dwellings which made up Dakosai. Dodging stricken villagers, he gained the door without too much trouble, and he threw his back against it to survey the chaotic scene. This way, that way, their goal unclear, no destination to speak of, somewhere safe, somewhere safe. He reached for the door handle and turned it sharply. The door squealed in the jam and then gave, rather quicker than he'd predicted, sending him sprawling over the threshold and onto his face. The pain of the air rushing out of his chest was replaced by a searing heat as he tried to inhale once more, and the air around him appeared to be moving. He fought the unconsciousness threatening to overtake him and realised that the blackness engulfing him was smoke. The building was aflame. There is little time left, the voice in his mind said urgently, and he was reminded of his quest. Heaving his hurt-laden frame forward once more, he strained his eyes to see into the gloom. There, The chest, its contents, the object of his mission, encrusted with semi-precious stones and gems, its lustre lost behind a curtain of smog. The smell of scorched flesh assailed his nostrils as he neared the box and knelt in front of it. The reason became obvious. The hook and hasp fastening on the front of the box was coated in what looked horribly like human skin, burned onto the metal and there to stay. He drew his sword and braced himself to swing. The blade arced through the billowing smoke and struck the metal with a dull thud. The ring of the steel and any sparks were lost in the thick atmosphere, along with the light from the windows, and the lock scurried away into the darkness. Wrapping his tunic around his hand, he gripped the hasp and pulled. The lid creaked against the swollen fit and then gave with a rush, and even the smoke could not conceal the radiance which emanated from inside.